Growing Spaces was founded in 1989 because of our love of living close to nature in the mountains, our enjoyment of fresh organic food, and to offer a preventative sort of medicine to boost good health. When you live in the Rocky Mountains, local deer and chipmunks can turn your yard or garden into a complimentary buffet any time of the year. And here at high altitudes, you can experience a sudden frost, hail, or snowstorm even in the heart of summer.
The growing season in the Rocky Mountains is 90 days, and to me that was unacceptable. So I created the growing dome that could grow year-round using little or no fossil fuel energy.
We started in our garage in Aspen Village in the Roaring Fork Valley and have grown steadily and organically ever since. Bootstrapping our way as it goes. But we're very excited about being entrepreneurs in Colorado, and we love the Rocky Mountain lifestyle.
And to stay vital, we like to eat fresh, organic foods, locally grown in our own private garden. No more wondering about where our food comes from or what kinds of chemicals have been added.
And there's a sense of security too, for me anyway, to know where my food is coming from.
I think that was my #1 reason of wanting to start gardening in the dome, was knowing where and what my child was eating.
The importance of good soil and healthy seeds, added to the benefit of a sanctuary-like space for gardening, brings a sense of peace and security for ourselves and our clients.
It's an oasis from the winter.
Walk in, you just go, I want to do this. And our friends that come here do that now. They walk in and just go, oh my gosh.
The thing about it is that we use natural systems of thermal storage, we use the heat of the sun and intelligent design to create a year-round product that can grow fruit, vegetables and flowers all through the winter.
You can come out here in the middle of the winter time when it's 10 degrees outside and it's blowing snow and miserable, and you can come in here and take off your jacket and it's 75, 80 degrees and just spend the afternoon in here like you just left Colorado and you went to the beach.
It's like summer in the middle of the winter.
Oh, it's so nice. That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Snowy day today here at our community farmyard at Cozy Point Ranch. It's about 25 degrees outside, and on last check it was 68 degrees inside the growing dome. Our greenhouse tends to stay pretty warm in the winter. Even without heat, we can maintain pretty close to Mediterranean temperatures.
The growing dome offers a lot more than other greenhouses that we looked at and considered. The aspects of having that interior water container which moderates the temperature within the dome is a fabulous addition to a greenhouse. Having the windows that open and close is fantastic. Having the fans, having the tubes that run through the ground, all of these different things contribute to the perfect environment for growing and make it so much easier.
And growing domes offer a living classroom for teaching young people valuable skills and awareness on many levels. Nature becomes their teacher, and because they experience the use of sustainable systems, kids learn how to do more with less and to be innovative and holistic as well as practical. Children are often instilled with a greater sense of respect for their environment and themselves.
Every school should have a growing dome and a garden, really. I mean, it's just beautiful. We started the garden 6 years ago, and the produce is just abundant. Since we've had the growing dome and since we've had the garden, we're able to actually send home now fresh produce with those students every Friday. Certainly the kids love the dome, and they love growing their own food.
When a growing dome is the centerpiece for discovery in schools, neighborhoods, and institutions, possibilities for good health expand. There is perhaps no stronger way to reconnect with nature and the miracle of life than working with plants and rich soil. Using natural systems in a growing dome allows one to work in harmony with the seasons to plant, grow, and harvest, providing a deeply nurturing and rewarding experience. The rich tastes of food you have grown yourself can be the foundation of a healthy life in general. Our mission to counter the poor nutrition that causes disease, malnutrition, and obesity can be challenged one growing dome at a time. Through vitality and health, sourced in our own protected indoor gardens, we are fulfilling that mission and helping create a world where life thrives.
The BuildBlock ICF product family is a complete construction system for both residential and commercial construction. Introduced in 2004, BuildBlock ICFs have grown and developed into a wide range of products to solve your construction needs, no matter what the type of structure you wish to build. Let's take a look at the BuildBlock ICF system. BuildBlock ICFs are made from two 2.5 inch EPS foam panels, joined together with embedded high-density plastic webs placed every 6 inches and 1/2 inch beneath the foam surface. ICFs are simply an insulated form for concrete that stays in place after the concrete is poured, providing super insulation and standing up to natural disasters. This amazing expanded polystyrene insulation provides lower energy bills and a quieter, safer environment for the lifetime of the building. BuildBlock ICFs stack easily, interlock securely, and help installers keep walls straight and plumb. The embedded webs provide a furring strip every 6 inches to attach bracing during construction and wall finishes after the home is built. These webs are very strong and keep the block panels together, holding in the concrete during the pour. They also provide easy and secure placement of rebar and nearly eliminate all rebar tying. BuildBlock makes straight, 90-degree and 45-degree corners, several radius blocks, as well as special brick ledge and taper top forms for the top of a wall. The strength of the BuildBlock web, different types of blocks, and many sizes provide builders with the confidence to tackle any project, large or small. In special situations, builders may need to build extremely thick walls. The BuildBlock Knockdown or KD system allows anyone to build walls 4 inches to 12 inches in 2-inch increments. Even wider walls can easily be made with a special bridge clip connector that joins 2 or more bridges together. The optional hardwall connector lets builders create an insulated wall on one side and a concrete-based wall on the other. Sometimes this is required in stairwells, elevator shafts, or warehouses. The KD system is assembled on-site to keep shipping costs low. This block also makes complex rebar reinforcement in commercial projects much easier since the blocks can be assembled around the rebar. The KD corner has the strongest web in the industry to withstand greater concrete pressures from thicker walls during the pour. All BuildBlock ICFs have embossed cut lines every 2 inches vertically and horizontally. This makes it incredibly easy to trim blocks as needed for your project. All BuildBlock webs deliver at least 150 pounds of pull-out strength, and the special patented BuildBlock hardpoints, indicated by a BB, deliver more than 450 pounds of pull-out strength, exceeding anything else in the industry. The BuildBlock interlock is designed on a 1-inch repeating cut pattern, eliminating wasted material on every job. Block pieces with at least one web can be integrated somewhere else in the wall. This ensures that BuildBlock has the least waste in the industry, saving you money and keeping trash out of landfills. All of the components of BuildBlock ICFs are recyclable, and BuildBlock uses recycled content in the manufacturing process where possible. BuildBuck is the longest foam buck on the market, creating a 4040 rough opening without any cuts. The buck is 2 inches thick, ensuring optimum insulation for the window opening. The BuildBlock webs are embedded at least 1/2 inch beneath the foam to ensure no thermal bridging occurs and the different materials don't show through finishes such as stucco or plaster. BuildBuck is designed with full-length attachment points along the sides of the buck and 8 attachment zones across the face of the buck. Embossed markings for concrete consolidation inspection ports are also visible. BuildBuck is bundled to fit above block bundles on trucks to use the space that's normally left empty, making its shipping cost on most block loads free. Thank you for taking a few minutes to learn more about BuildBlock ICF products. We are proud to be your complete ICF construction solution. Please visit our website or explore other videos on our YouTube channel to learn even more about the most installer-friendly ICF.
New at 10, with the threat of terrorist attacks and civil unrest, some here in the Valley are choosing construction that is virtually indestructible. As Preston Phillips reports, 2 Valley brothers are building homes and bunkers that can save your life and conserve energy.
More and more people in the Valley are opting for a different kind of construction, one that can withstand just about any major attack or natural disaster, even a barrage of gunfire.
The walls are bulletproof. They'd be very tough to drive a car through it.
It's called ICF, short for insulated concrete form. Essentially 2 thick pieces of shock-absorbent styrofoam, rebar up the middle, filled with concrete.
There's a very high level of security here. Even for fire rating, you know, these typical building has a 20-minute fire rating. An ICF building has a 4-hour fire rating.
For Fountain Hills resident Mike Howell, it's all about peace of mind. His custom home in Fountain Hills is all ICF construction. His recording studio below it all doubles as a bunker.
Not that I'm paranoid about being attacked, but in the event that it happened, I really don't have any worries.
Gary Fetters and his brother Rod, both U.S. Air Force veterans, own Castle Rock homes and Division I bunkers out of Litchfield Park and are the ones behind the construction.
I have a picture of Hurricane Katrina with 1 square mile wiped completely clear off the face of the earth, except for the foundations, and 1 house standing there, and that house is ICF.
Take this California neighborhood, for example, wiped out by fire, except for these 3 homes built with ICF. Meantime, this Avondale church is one of 26 right here in the Valley being built with this fortified construction. And while it's expected to stop almost any threat, the church says their decision was based solely on energy efficiency.
The concrete literally wicks temperature out of the ground, and you create a thermal mass that holds the temperature and lowers your operating costs significantly.
Preston Phillips, CBS 5 News.
And Fetter says that they have sold more ICF construction in the last 6 months than they have in the past 3 years. For more information on the cost and other things, we do have a link to this story on our website, azfamily.com.
producing more energy than we consume on the suite, which is a 2-people suite upstairs and a functioning studio workshop downstairs. But the excess production of the thermal and the PV is being exported to the primary residence, where we, on the PV side, on the electrical side, we're almost positive on both buildings. On the thermal side, not quite.
Welcome to Green Energy Futures, your guide to the green energy revolution that's already underway.
Hi, David Dodge here for Green Energy Futures. Solar thermal heating systems are one of the most mature renewable energy technologies. After the energy crisis in the 1970s, Israel embraced solar thermal so much so that today 90% of the homes have solar hot water systems. But then along came cheap solar PV, which seemed to take some of the wind out of the solar thermal sails. But despite this, solar thermal is alive and well. Today we talk to Tom Jackman of Simple Solar, a Calgary company that has installed 80 solar thermal systems in the last 8 years.
Hello, I'm Tom Jackman from Simple Solar here in Calgary. We provide solar energy systems for residential applications. We provide both solar thermal systems and solar photovoltaic systems. Solar photovoltaic make electricity and solar thermal make heat, and our homes need both. We're standing in front of a laneway house in Ramsey of Calgary, and that's a new build that has both solar electric systems and solar thermal systems that we provided.
When Jackman started Simple Solar, he was only installing solar thermal hot water systems. But today, more often than not, he installs solar thermal alongside with solar PV. So how did Jackman decide on the mix of solar PV and solar thermal that you see on this laneway home?
The homeowner wanted as much solar as he could get, and in fact we make quite a bit more solar power than just the laneway house uses. And the excess electricity and the excess heat is transferred to the house through a piping and wiring system. The photovoltaic system is flush mounted on the roof. You can't see it that well, but it's there. There's 5.5 kilowatts of solar photovoltaics. These 6 different solar thermal collectors, 3 on the wall and another 3 up above, total 12.5 kilowatts of solar heating capacity.
According to Tom Jackman, the advantage of solar thermal over solar PV is energy density. The roof of this garage suite produces more heat and electricity than the suite needs. It's net positive, exporting excess heat and electricity to the main house. This integrated approach plays on the benefits of solar thermal and solar PV and overcomes one of the refrains that solar thermal is too expensive. GreenBuilderAdvisor.com went as far as to pronounce solar thermal is dead, thanks to the dramatically reduced cost of solar PV. But Jackman says his patented design has simplified and reduced the cost of solar thermal, making it competitive.
We have developed a system that's very reliable and very cost effective. Most people don't do that. Well, nobody else does that. So they've got high pressure, high temperature resistant line sets and components, and that's what drives the expense. It's not the collectors, and it's certainly not the tank. Both items are mass produced, all over the world. It's the piece in between that is driving the expense, and we've optimized that, and that's our key to success.
So how does solar thermal work? The evacuated collector tubes that Jackman uses get their name from the vacuum space inside the tube.
Here's a small version of one. You can see that there's 2 layers of glass in this tube, and the air has been evacuated out between those layers, so it's an insulator. The vacuum is an insulator, and so the temperature outside doesn't really affect it too much, and the sunlight easily comes right in, hits this dark coating, and is transitioned to heat. And all that heat gets focused to the inside and comes out on this pipe. So the tube.
So what's inside?
Yeah, there's in the installed versions, there's heat transfer plates that transition the heat from the side of the glass where it's created to this copper pipe. And these things get really, really hot. If you leave this out in the sun and touch this, you'll burn your skin right off.
That's one spicy meatball. Instead of using complicated sensors to turn the system on and off, Jackman has paired his design with a solar PV system to keep it running when it needs to run.
That flow happens because of previously mentioned photovoltaic powered pump. So the two little PV panels on the outside energize the pump when sun's shining and is creating heat. And the brighter the sun shines, the more heat's being made and the faster the pump runs.
From the collectors, a glycol mixture carries the heat to the storage tank. One issue with glycol is that when it reaches above 90 degrees Celsius, it begins to degrade and eventually has to be replaced. A typical solar thermal system uses expensive sensors to detect and regulate the glycol's temperature. Instead, Jackman uses a simple thermostatic valve connected to a heat dissipator to keep the glycol at temperature.
And as the tank gets hotter, the glycol gets hotter until the point where the glycol hits 90 degrees Celsius. And at that point, we have a control valve that says, hey, this is getting too hot, and that valve opens up and directs glycol to the heat dissipator. And we have the heat dissipator tucked in behind the collector here, right up in there, and it runs the whole length of the collection array. And that's how we dissipate extra heat. And that maintains the glycol at a maximum of 90 degrees, which is below the degradation point. So our glycol will last the life of the system.
Cornelius Koster owns the Ramsey Laneway home. Jackman originally proposed a much more modest solar system for the garage suite, but Koster, himself a green energy advocate, insisted on using as much space as possible.
We basically built the suite to a maximum height on the eaves trough side, and then by city regulations we are allowed to extend that height for another 1.6 meters, which basically is exactly the height of the top bank of the thermal tubes on the roof. And then we added another 3 banks of PV thermal on the face, on the south-facing side. So the wall component of the thermal is basically for winter production because of the angle, and the top bank of thermal is ideal for summer production.
By mixing solar thermal with solar PV, Koster was able to pack a lot of energy production on his roof. So why do this?
Again, the passion for renewables and the environment, combined with obviously some financial calculations, made it clear to me that it was affordable to actually spend and invest money on renewables, and in this case, PV solar and thermal, on a long-term basis.
Want to learn more about this award-winning net positive garage suite in Calgary, Alberta? Check out our blog, podcast, and photos at greenenergyfutures.ca. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos. For Green Energy Futures, I'm David Dodge. Cornelius Koster's net positive garage suite uses solar thermal heat and solar PV to provide all of its energy. For a completely different approach, check out our story on a carbon-neutral garage suite in Edmonton, Alberta that gets all of its electricity from solar PV and its heat from a solar air wall and heat pump system.
We have a very large following on social media with Facebook and our website, and we put out a promotion to sell one of our buildings. And we got such a huge response that we actually put it up as an auction. And my client ended up purchasing the building for his remote property in Desolation Sound, a few hours north of Vancouver. He came back to me and said, listen, I have a larger plan I want you to take a look at. The interesting thing was he'd had 3 or 4 other contractors look at it, and none of them bid the project. It was either too technical, too remote, too challenging for them, or it just wasn't in their scope of building, or they simply didn't have the manpower to build it.
So the client came to me and showed me a set of plans of what he wanted to build. And I kind of had a similar thought originally. I said, you know what, this is a very challenging build to do in a remote location. What if we can design you something that we can build in our shop in North Vancouver? We can build it to the design and architectural standards that you want. And what if we can deliver that building in a much shorter time than what it would take you to build it on site? And that's what got the discussion going. So whenever we look at a building project, the most important thing to look at is how do we get the modules there. In this case, the client wanted a building that was 690 square feet. That's obviously too big to transport on the road or on a barge as one piece, and particularly the access road to this property was very, very challenging. So we designed modules that were 13 feet wide and 26 feet in length with overhangs, and there were 3 modules almost identical in size. On the morning of, in North Vancouver, on the morning of the move, the first goal of the day was to separate the modules. So we had done our dry fit in the parking lot, made sure everything came together properly, flashings were in the right spot, walls came together properly. The first stage was to separate those buildings into 3 modules and then prepare them for transport. Using our high mobility trailer, we're able to get the trailer into locations and, more importantly, out of locations, which would be very challenging for standard transport trucks. Our trailer can literally lift up and crab sideways on sideways wheels, and it can turn itself and project and retract wherever we need to. One by one, we load them onto a trailer. We took them down to the east side of Vancouver and load them onto a large transport barge. That night, the barge sailed to Desolation Sound to a barge ramp on the island. The following morning, we flew in and met the barge. I think the morning of was fantastic because we had our whole crew on the seaplane. At least the majority of the crew were with us on that day. Some were already on the island, but I think we had 9 crew members on the plane. We came in and were able to do about a 180-degree bank around the barge and really got a good sense of what the day was going to hold. We looked down the barge and we had our little buildings on that barge, and the barge was the size of 2 football fields, and our little buildings were on there. It was quite humbling to fly over that. Basically, the barge dock location wasn't really much of a dock. It was a jetty of rocks, and we were able to put the barge ramp down onto that and to offload, and proceeded to truck each one of these modules up the hill to the build site. In the case of our Desolation Sound project, we knew we had some grades that were going to be a challenge, where we had soft soil, heavy weights, and we were concerned that we wouldn't be able to get up the hills. So we hired an on-site excavator to be there and to assist us if we ran into trouble.
Well, this building here is probably 20% more weight. It's got all the flooring in it. It's got about 1,000 pounds of glass and all the bathrooms, so it was substantially heavier and we got caught up on a couple hills. But we had good preparation. We had some pull straps and extra trucks and equipment, so we got it up the hill.
Primarily, West Coast Outbuildings is a modular building supplier. So things like foundation work and excavation, we're usually able to find local contractors on the island who can be more cost effective for those particular components. They have the machines on the island, they can do that work no matter what the weather conditions. What we look at is bringing in the building and the infrastructure to do that. In the case of our Desolation Sound project, from the day we were on site to the day we were done, it was 7 days.
These guys are basically doing it all. This house is capturing rainwater, filtering it, and pumping it back up to the house to be used. Energy efficient building with energy efficient appliances. This is a great way to go.
in 7 days we went from a bare foundation to a completed building with its own water treatment, its own solar, and its own septic system. And it's complete in 7 days. The client's vision for this project was a very clean and simple design building, but with bold lines. And as we were talking with the client, he made a comment about his collection of architectural books and how proud he was of these books. And you could see the glint in his eye when he talked about his library. So I sat down with our designer, Daniel, and we thought about what this building should look like, and somehow we came up with the idea that the building would look like a book on its side, where the roof and the floor would be the covers of the book, and the corrugated steel that formed the side of the building would be the pages. And the idea was it was a book sitting on the edge of a cliff. And that's what it kind of looks like in the end. From the first moment that we sat down with the client to hear his vision of what he wanted to have built, and in many cases thought could never be built, it was just shy of 11 months before we handed over the keys to the finished product. We live in beautiful British Columbia, and if you get just a little bit outside of where people are normally buying and you look a little bit more remote, I think you'll be able to open up a lot more options. And one thing that West Coast Outbuilding specializes in is in delivering to those challenging locations. So what we can do with our high mobility trailer, the crews that we have, and the access to the equipment that we do, we're able to take properties that would normally be unbuildable and turn them into a great option. We handle everything from day one. So when you come to us with a property and you tell us what you want to build, we handle design, we handle engineering, we handle permitting with municipalities, we handle the water, the sewer, the solar energy, whatever you need, we handle it all for you. And we guide you through the process of what's required for your build. And in the end, when we turn over your keys, you have a complete project that's functional from day one.